Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Scout YouTube channel. Obviously, different host today, admittedly. It's my first time hosting, so let's hope everything works to normal. I'm hoping my mic works, but let's see if it does. So let me know if there is any issues or anything, because I'm happy to try to change it as it goes along. But yeah, of course, Harry's usually here, but he's not here. He can't make it. He's on holiday. Tom's also on holiday. It's actually his birthday today as well. So if you are bored and want something to do, maybe drop him a message. Tell him happy birthday. And Sonaldo can't make it either. So it's just me and Gianni for today. Gianni, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. Nice to meet you. It's nice to, I've obviously seen all your content, but never actually streamed together, have we? So I think this might be, I don't know, this first time I've been on Burning Questions. Maybe the second time all season. So yeah, it's nice to be on and good to be on with you. And yeah, hopefully Harry is enjoying his trip. And happy birthday to Tom. Manon in the chat says Harry and Tom looking rough. Love that.
But yeah, you have to put up with us, because I said they will be back next week, I believe. But yeah, this week Tom's birthday, Harry's on holiday, and I actually got a message from Sonaldo at like 4 a.m. last night, which woke me up saying that he couldn't make it either. So that is fantastic.
But mate, get your phone on silent in the middle of the night. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn it off.
You have to get used to this face as well, because you might see me more and more on the YouTube channel as well. I'm sort of taking a bit over from Tom. So yeah, you might see me more and more. So I hope you enjoy me. But let's get into it. But one thing I do want to mention on this show as well. We haven't got tons of plans to talk about, so if you guys have got a lot of questions, I'm sure you have, about Gameweek 26, or even slightly about Gameweek 25, but we'll try not to focus on that too much, because obviously there is the final game tonight between Aston Villa and Liverpool. But if you've got any questions, fire them in the chat, and me and Gianni will fire through as many as we can in the stream, but we also have some talking points as well to go through. But yeah, let's move on to the slide, and let's see how this all looks. Look at that.
Christ. You sure you want to do that? I mean, I'm using a transfer. I've got one transfer. I'm using a transfer on a manager. I think that's everyone that's got Emery or Slot. I think the vast majority will use it. If you're on Slot, I'd definitely be using it. If you're on Emery, I don't know. Maybe you wait and see what happens on Wednesday night. But if Emery does go, if he goes and beats Liverpool, it's probably quite hard to sell him ahead of Chelsea at home. I do fancy Villa and Emery, but for many, I think I'm just going to be chasing. I'm going to be chasing bonus. Like, this chip is about having, for me, upside and a bit of risk, and therefore Glasner's a great option as long as Villa don't win. And he's probably the one I like most. So that's why I'm looking to use a transfer. I mean, I have Gakpo, which is a bit of a headache. I still haven't committed to a plan in 29, and I don't want to commit to a plan this week. For my team, it makes sense to free hit 29. I've got 8 players playing in 29, but at the same time, I know I prefer a chip strategy that doesn't involve free hitting in 29. But if I do commit to a free hit 29, I like the idea of buying players that others won't. Others won't buy John-Philippe Mateta because he doesn't play in 29. I can buy Mateta, so I like the differential approach by it. And I could go Gakpo to Mateta, but let's see. Yeah. And Liverpool and Palace, I'm not too fussed about keeping Villa assets because they have not got great fixtures. And I've got Rodgers and Watkins. I bought Watkins in for the double, rewarded. I was happy with that. But I look at Palace, Newcastle, and Liverpool. Now, those that aren't free hitting 29, and I presume, Scott, you're not. Most don't seem to be, and it makes sense not to for the majority. You're going to have to sell some good players. Like, you're not going to sell all your Liverpool, Newcastle, and Palace, but you're going to have to sell some of them to get 11 out. So it's interesting that holding them could be a nice play, and that could be the advantage, or is the advantage of free hit 29.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I think your sound might be off, mate.
I've added another sound thing, so I'm hoping it should be back again, because that's what I did on my first one, and it worked on the first scene. So I'm hoping we're back. Let's see. I was firing away while you were talking. But let's carry on, and then we'll reassess if it's still going. Now it's okay. Yeah, see, look at that. I've managed to fix it live on air. That is ridiculous. Thank you. I can't believe I've managed that, but there we are. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the questions anyway. So Mike Pearsons has said, "Hi guys, dilemma. I have one free transfer, keep Slot and move to Ahmad or move Slot to Glasner and keep and basically move Ahmad later. What do you think to that, Johnny?
Ahmad's a priority because we know he's out, but there's also very good midfielders doing well. Like if you've got Ahmad, there's every chance you don't have a Bournemouth midfielder. Buy one. Do you know what I mean? Like, but there are like you got to have a Bournemouth attacker. I think I bought Dango last week, but there's an argument to say you should have to double up. You got to sell Ahmad sooner rather than later, but I'd be getting rid of ASAP.
Yeah, no, I'm. Let's fire this back to the screen. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that, to be honest, where has this gone now? Yeah, I think to be honest, I've already done Ahmad to Utara myself, so I think that's the play. I also think I'd actually get it done quickly because I think part of it as well. You just know that I feel like Utara's going to rise in price. I don't know where you stand on that, but it's pretty obvious. I think maybe not quite at the extent that Marmoush might rise, but I do think that he will definitely rise, and because of that, yeah, my feeling is you should buy Ahmad. Why does my screen look different now? Oh dear. If I go like this, no, it's not. We're gonna have to stick with your team, or we've got the start screen. That's fine at the moment, which is nice. Can I get rid of you? No. I tell you what, this OBS stuff's difficult, guys. If you ever do stream,
oh mate, so for those wait, whilst you press some buttons, let me give you some breathing space because it's so difficult when you're hosting and it's new. So guys, I hope you really are enjoying the stream. Like we'll answer some questions. We're going to keep the key topics on trend. This is burning questions. We're with you for the next half an hour, so stay tuned and get your questions in the chat. But for those that have watched Scout for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Probably about 6 years ago, it was during COVID and before, I used to host a couple of streams on Scout. I used to do watch-alongs. And honestly, using OBS is not easy. So fair play to all of the Scout hosts that do it on a daily basis. And look, they're not idiots. I am a technophobe. And on my channel, I use plug and play, idiot's guide proof StreamYard, and it works. But Scott, for you doing it the first time and then your first time chatting to me, it's not easy. So I absolutely appreciate you hosting.
I figured it out. So if I go like this now and then hit that, boom, my team arrives. Yes, look at that. Wow, there we are. So anyway, this is my team currently. And as you can see, I've got no free transfers now. I've already burnt my transfer this week. I've already done Ahmad to Utara. I think Utara is the best Bournemouth mid. Actually, let's talk about that. Where are you with the Bournemouth mids if you had to rank? Because obviously you've got Cliver, he's at 6 million now. Utara's still at 5.1, I think. And then obviously you got some menus about, is he 5.7, I think, at the moment, or 5.8, something like that, or maybe even 5.6. Where do you rank them anyway?
I mean, I was asked this last week on air and said on Friday morning, I was sat with Praz, who obviously you guys know very well at Burning Questions. We were sat on the sofas at the Premier League, and I was asked a question, rank the Bournemouth mids. And I was like, this is $1 million question. Like, no one can actually rank them with any certainty. But I didn't say that on air. Of course, I answered it. I ranked, and I did. I was buying a Bournemouth mid that week. I was buying Dango. The reason I was buying Dango, to be fair, was I didn't have a decision to make because budget was tight for me. So I was able to buy the cheaper one. But I did say, I do think, because there's little to split them, go on price. And therefore I went Dango 1, Clivert 2, Semenyo 3. Nothing's changed. The weekend showed me that Clivert and Semenyo, I struggle because they're similar in price and I really struggle to put one above the other. You've got the 90-minute guarantee of Semenyo versus the more central position and penalties of Clivert. But I am sure about one thing. Dango's the best because of the price. It takes if they were all ranked the same, if they were all priced the same, let's say they're all 5.5, it'd be a really difficult discussion for me. But knowing there's very little between Dango and the rest, arguably Dango's better, but even if he's not, you go, I saved 20% on Clivert. And that 20% matters. So I rank Dango at 1.
Yeah, no, I actually genuinely agree. And I think part of it as well, I just like a player that plays that position. I always have in FPL. I like the fact that sort of Dango's a mid and he's playing up front at the moment. I think that's such a sort of a ploy. And obviously since he's been up front, he's got a hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, didn't he, for a 21-pointer. Then he did blank against Liverpool, but I mean, it is Liverpool. And I think in fairness, he's still got a few chances. And obviously he scored again at the weekend. So what's that, 4 in 3 now? Like, he's surely the most informed of the three as well. I mean, Clive obviously had that sort of outstanding haul away at Newcastle, didn't he, a few weeks ago? That was mesmerising, really. And obviously had the penalties. I think he would be, again, I agree in terms of, I think he'd just be second for me. And I actually don't mind doubling up still. I think the fixtures are still there. Obviously Wolves at home this week, Brighton at home I believe next week, which is not ideal, but Brighton have struggled at times and have not particularly been on the greatest run in the world. I know they smashed Chelsea up last week, but yeah, Chelsea are struggling themselves, aren't they? And then obviously I think they've got Spurs away, which again we know on paper that might look like, oh, before the season starts you might look at Spurs away and think that's not great, but with Spurs' defensive record, actually, I'd argue it's potentially a fixture to target at the moment. So I'm really not opposed to doubling up on the Bournemouth mids at all, especially at the price points as well, because it just allows you to use your budget elsewhere, really. But yeah, I
price
think,
points is insane.
I think
there's other budget mids as well, like loads of buying Wanyeri.
Yeah,
I don't
nice,
love that move as much, but I like the punty nature of, I don't know. There's players out there that are 1% owned, and I'm talking about Minter, I'm talking about Kevin Schade. Those two players are under 1%. You could have fun with them. Wanyeri is clearly a great differential too. Smith Rowe's a little bit more, but still under 10% at 5.2 million. Like, there is so many good budget mids that if you've got an Alband in your team, get rid, because you're using up a valuable slot. Never I don't think in FPL before have we seen, and I go back to even the start of the season, we saw it, so many good value mids. We've always had one or two, and it's been obvious which one to buy. This year, there's been 10 good 4.5 to 5.5 midfielders, and it's like, being on the right one at the right time is the trickiest. That's why many have just set and forget Rodgers, but most now are going to sell Rodgers because he doesn't play in 29, and most aren't free hitting, and now see that as a spot that they can move on. So Rodgers will be leaving a lot of teams next week, I expect.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the chat now, John, and Emmanuel said in the chat, thoughts on selling Slot to Arteta. What do you think of that move? Is it worth it potentially? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't like it, but that's just the way I manage. If you've gone for Slot, you're probably showing yourself to be quite a. I've got to pick my words wisely here.
Less of a punt manager.
Quite a safe FPL manager.
Safety
safe
first.
Managers.
Yeah.
But safety first is fine. Safety first is going to get the most points. So completely no criticism. In fact, a compliment. I wish I could have gone Slot. But it's just not the way I played the game. I saw the chip and went, I'm going to chase upside. But also because my rank's so bad this season and I'm chasing, it made no sense to me to go Slot. If I was world number one, I probably would play. I definitely would. I would have gone safe and I would have gone Slot. But if you've gone Slot, Arteta's your sort of pick, right? If you've gone Emery and Moyes, Arteta's not your sort of pick. What I would say, though, is this is the third week many will be using it, and the third and last week. If you've gone Slot, maybe you want to have a little bit of fun with it. Maybe you want to be able to go, there's a 20-point ceiling, not a 10-point ceiling, and therefore I'm going to back a Glasner if he can get a cheap bonus, or I'm going to back a McKenna. So it depends if you're enjoying the chip as it is, with a lower ceiling but a higher floor, and Arteta and Slot are your type of manager, and you're happy watching games like that, even if it's the third week in a row. Or if you go, I actually want something different. I want to watch a game and know I can get a 20-pointer out of this. And if that's you, then don't go Arteta.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with it. I think a part of it potentially as well is, look, if you're going to wildcard in something like Gameweek 30 or 31, like I'm sure a lot of people are going to, and you've got transfers to burn, then I think, well, to be honest, Arteta's got a better game. He's probably more likely to win than Slot is. I think Slot probably will beat Man City for the record. But I think obviously Arteta, you'd expect more nailed potentially at home to West Ham this weekend. So I think you've got transfers to burn, do it. But I'm with Gianni. I just like the upside of I just like chasing the table bonus. Like if I was going to go anywhere, I'd be going Glasner this week. That would be my pick. Fulham have got a pretty poor record against the lower teams. They actually have a pretty good record if you want to chase upside in terms of table bonus for them when they face against the better teams in the league. But they've actually got a poor record. Yeah, against the.
We all fancied them last week to beat Forest. We thought at one point, if Spurs went and beat Liverpool in that EFL Cup semi-final, it was going to be Spurs and Fulham that got the double game week. If Spurs had got the double game week or Fulham had got the double game week, we almost certainly would have backed one of those two managers over Slot, right? So, or over whoever we were thinking. So we would have gone Silva, because we all looked at Silva versus Forest and went, that's a table bonus fixture. But because they didn't get the double, we didn't go there because they had a single game week, and maybe that was foolish.
Yeah, for sure. No, I completely agree. I think that we've answered that one. So Maxio7 has said Alanga to Mbeumo and slot to Glasner if Villa win tonight for a -4. Alanga to Mbeumo and slot to Glasner. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. But I suppose where are you on? Might be a more generalised question, Gianni, but I haven't taken so far this season a -4. I haven't done it because I very rarely I find does it actually work. And now in double game weeks, I think there's obviously a lot more sort of scope to do that. But as a sort of blanket statement, I really do try to avoid taking -4s, and that might make me, as we were talking about earlier, potentially a safe manager. Where do you stand on that? Are you sort of a bit more open to the -4s, or are you like me that's sort of like rigid and nailed that, and I will not take them?
Yeah, no, I'm probably somewhere between the two. I think I've taken 3. I do try and avoid them, but sometimes
they just catch up with you, don't they, at the end of the season? Like you look back and you're
they
like,
do,
so,
but,
like you're taking 12 points off your score straight away, sort of thing.
12 points from a score, but then if those 12 players have come in, do you know what it is? It's around the doubles, right? And I know it's a cliche to say it, but it's not a 4-point hit if your player's getting extra appearance points.
Yeah,
you can view it often as a 2-point hit because that player plays twice. So I think we're all a little bit more aggressive with hits around the doubles, and that's fine. But yeah, as a rule of thumb, I try and avoid them. And actually, as a rule of thumb, because this season the goalposts have moved, we can roll up to 5. That should matter. And we're still learning how to play like that. And I do think I perhaps didn't roll enough transfers earlier in the season. I didn't get to the point where I got 3 free transfers. In fact, I think I've had 3 transfers once this season. Like, I've rarely got to 2. I am still playing like I would in years gone by, where every week I make a weekly transfer because I'm too tempted each week. But sometimes I look at some of the managers that are doing really well this year. Now, those that have managed to roll 4 or 5 times and then be really aggressive on that 4th, 5th mini wildcard, if you like, each time. And is there a value in being a little bit more patient with your players? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've actually managed to get to 4 once this year, and it does. I ended up messing up my transfers anyway that week, it turns out, but it does give you a bonus sort of in the long term for sure doing that. And it obviously at that point in time, it meant that, as you said, it does actually act as a mini wildcard. Because when you are wildcarding, let's be honest, you usually don't need to change every player in your team, do you? Like, you don't actually need. So what? You don't need all your slots. Like, you're gonna keep Salah pretty much no matter what in wildcards. There's certain players that have been in your team that you're usually changing maybe 5 to 10. Well, if you can do half of them straight away, then you're sort of on a good standpoint. However, going back to the hit situation, my first hit this week might be Emery to Glasner. You know, it might be because I look at how Fulham have coped against the lower teams in the division. And even if you look at the sort of relegation through, which I think will probably be Leicester, Southampton and Ipswich, they've actually only beat Leicester. They drew at home 0-0 to Southampton, and they lost, and they drew at home, and they scored like a 90-something minute penalty, I believe, against Ipswich to level that game as well, and only to draw that 2-2. And if you, I remember Tom Kearney being on Sky Sports Monday Night Football a few, like maybe a month back or something like that, and he was saying that actually Fulham have in terms against the top 6, they've actually got a really good record. But they're dropping points naturally against the lower teams in the division. I think when they've got the sort of like incentive and they're the ones that have to go win the game, I think that's where Fulham's struggling. I just think they're coming up against Crystal Palace team with the way they play. Like, you almost saw the way they played against Man United a few weeks ago, and obviously got the 2-0 win there. And I think if they can sort of recreate that style, and I think they've got an unbelievable defensive record away from home too. I think they might even have the best defensive record away from home in the league, or it was at one point anyway.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so if they can sort of keep that, up and go to Fulham and frustrate them, I think there's, with the former Mateta's on as well, I think there's every chance that you do get your turbo bonus down there. And I think from -4, I don't know, it might be worth a punt. I also think that Villa as well are not. I don't think it's nailed that Emery wins either somehow.
No, I mean, Villa. The one thing you'd say about Villa this season, when they've been good, they've been good. When they've been bad, they've been bad. They have struggled for consistency. That's been a problem. Like, I don't think we can ever bank on them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Villa went and got something tonight, but then I wouldn't be surprised if they went and lost to Chelsea, who've been really poor. So yeah, I mean, the assistant managership has such a high ceiling on any given week. If you're going for someone with bonus, I feel like you can chase and therefore hit. So yeah, there's going to be loads of hits this week. There's going to be loads of hits in general because of the doubles and blanks coming up. But there's also always going to be hits now where we've got assistant managers to play, because every week you'll look at your team and go, there's surgery there, or there's a flag there, or there's a player I need to sell there because he's injured, Ahmad. And if you've also playing the assistant, if you're also in that 3-week window, we got the assistant manager, you're also going to want to use transfers each time, and people wouldn't have prepped for that. So we're going to see a lot more hits between now and the end of the season because that chip is in play.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. 'Cause when you're doing it, I think it is worth it each week to use a transfer to get to the best manager for that week. I think that is worth it.
The ceiling's there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that is worth it. The only thing I would say is I think potentially next season, if it is in the game again, if Slot beats Villa, then he'll have done 3 wins out of 4 and obviously drawn the other game. And I think people will play the chip differently because I think people look at it and they won't. Because I think there has been a quite, and I quite like it actually, concept of people chasing the sort of the table bonus. And I think that's added a dimension to the game where you're not just picking the best players that potentially you do in FPL in general. But I do think, as I said, if Slot was to beat Emery, which I think he will actually, I do think people will look at that and go, well, hang on a minute, we've moved around Moyes to Emery and all that, and actually you should have just kept Slot and just outscored him. I do think.
I'm not sure. I think I'll play it the same way. I think I'll play it the same way, but I don't think it'll be around. I think it's probably a pointless conversation because it won't be around. I think the Premier League will see the participation and go, there was 2 million managers that didn't use the chip, and we need chips that involve the masses, but 2 million didn't use it because they didn't understand it, or 2 million active managers didn't. I'm completely plucking out numbers here and I've got no insight, but I would be surprised if it's still around because I just think it's been too complex and too complicated. We even saw in the top 10K last week, what was it, 2.6K managers, 2.6% managers still had it on Moyes, which shows us that Moyes was a good shout in the end, but clearly they didn't realise they could use a transfer on their assistant manager. I just think if it's around next year, it'll be a different. It won't be identical. There'll be changes.
It's also tricky in it with the manager, but with the table bonus, because the 5 thing potentially at times is flawed in terms of you don't know. It depends on other results happening to where teams go in the league. Like,
and it's locked at the start of the game week. Is that fair? When you're on a double game week in game 2, you might be in a position where that team isn't 5 places. There's only 1 place between them, and you're still getting table bonus. That hasn't happened yet, but that will happen at some point.
But it could have easily happened with Emery, really, in terms of and Maresca at the weekend when they play each other. Like if it locked itself and then they lock, or there'll be a way of working it out where I think if certain results had happened, I think that would have been the case. FPL Gaffer has said, hi Scott / Jarnit, would you do Ahmad to Dango or João Pedro to Cunha this week? So if you can only do one, Ahmad to Dango or João Pedro to Cunha. What do you think? That's a good question.
Such a good question. Like, they're both priority sells. You need to get rid of Ahmad, but you need to get rid of João Pedro. The problem with João Pedro owners is because he's got a fixture in 29, he's an extra body. Now, he could be back in the 11 by 29. And if he's not back in the 11 by 29, he's almost certainly going to get minutes off the bench. And he'll get minutes off the bench. We saw it last week. He'll get 20. So do you want that extra body? Do you want a punt that Jorginho Rutter gets injured or loses form as João Pedro comes back in? We know with Ahmad, he ain't getting any minutes. So probably Ahmad should be a priority sell. That is certainty there. So yeah, I think that's probably direction. But we should talk about Cunha because he's on the thumbnail, he's in the description, and Cunha is a proper hot FPL asset right now. Like there is so talismanic for Wolves to the point where this season, whenever he's returned, and he's got it's something like, I don't know, I'm going to pluck the number out. Scott, maybe you can look. It's something like 12 goals, 4 assists. Whenever he's returned, let's say 16 returns. In those games, there's been 36 bonus points up for grabs. He's got 30 of them. For 36 bonus points up for grabs, in games he's returned, he's got 30. That is obscene.
He's got 12 goals and 4 assists for people that are wondering as well, which is so not a bad effort. But yeah, I was writing an article about forwards to buy earlier in the week, and I put Cunha's numbers, which is why I clearly remembered them. But yeah, from 16 returns in those games, 30 bonus points. That's nuts. Only three players have more bonus points than him. It was Chris Wood, Cole Palmer, Mo Salah. He gets the bonus because even if he scores 1 assist in a game, which is 2-2, he'll get the bonus because his underlines are so good with creativity. He hits the target when he shoots. He does get fouled. He does have successful dribbles. He does make key passes.
He's a BPS dream, and those extra points matter.
But yeah, I think it also helps in it. Like if you when you watch Wolves as well, I remember watching them. I remember them losing away at West Ham a few months ago now, and he is Wolves in it. That's what everything goes through him. So it's no doubt that he's gonna be an unbelievable for bonus points because it is a proper like you don't want to say one man team because that feels unfair, but it is almost shadowing on that sort of definition of what we're trying to say. Like he's that sort of nailed. But what I am interested with Cunha is, and the reason I put it on the thumbnail is, I do want to discuss him because he is a man on form right now as well, which I think is probably going under the radar. Like he's scored back-to-back weeks, and he scored a really wicked goal against Anfield at the weekend as well. My only question with Cunha potentially right now is, do you wait a week because this week they've got Bournemouth at home, Bournemouth away. So do you leave it this week? Because then after that you've got Fulham at home, Everton at home, Southampton away, West Ham at home, Ipswich away, Spurs at home. Like that's an unbelievable run. So I think definitely if it's not going to be game week 26, it's going to be game week 27. But do you leave it a week? That's the question. Or do you just think that this
you only leave it? You only
else?
leave it a week. You only leave it a week if you're uncertain. If you're not sure, and it's fine to be uncertain. If you're not 100% sure Cunha's the man for you, leave it a week. If you know it's Cunha that's coming in, why wait? Like Bournemouth might be flying right now, but they will always give you chances. And a team like Wolves, I would expect them to score at Bournemouth. That'll be an open football match.
Yeah,
so
I've actually got.
And also, if he does score, he goes up in money. He goes up in price. So there's no reason to wait unless you're not sure on the move. If you're not sure on the move, of course, wait a week and you go, oh, maybe it's I hold Gakpo, or maybe it's Mateta. But if you're sure Cunha's your man, go buy him now.
Yeah, I actually genuinely agree. The other thing I think is that you've got to look at previous games of the season because Wolves have had a weird run of fixtures, haven't they? Where they've had a load of really hard fixtures they had at the start of the season, and then they go through a really nice run. And I remember last time this happened, everyone obviously ended up having Cunha at one point in the season. Or if you didn't, you probably ranked 10 million now because you've been screwed that much by it. But I remember this time last year, the first time they had something like, I can't remember exactly, but they had two really nice home fixtures. I believe one of them might have been Southampton at home. But the game before, they had Brighton away, and nobody went for it at Brighton away. But he actually scored in that game, and then obviously he probably ended up with 9 points with getting the bonus on top of that. And I think this week potentially, at this time, the Bournemouth game strikes me a bit like that Brighton game. Well, it's the similar teams, the sort of the Bournemouth obviously are slightly better, but as you said, they do give chances away, and. Is there any point waiting, especially when the price is going to go up? And then I had a look at sort of on the Fantasy Football Scout website around the sort of top sort of strikers for the next 6 game weeks. And if you look at where Cunha ranks, he's currently 4th. But what's more interesting is Haaland's top, but he's also 15 million, so or 14.9 or 14.8. So it's a bit ridiculous. Watkins again is around the 9 million price point. Isak's just above 9 million, and then Cunha is down at what? 6.8 million, or is he 7? I believe it might be 7.
6.8, yeah.
6.8 million. And if you look at sort of the strikers around him, except Wood, obviously, which you probably potentially own anyway, and Wissa, who a lot of people potentially own, he is the man over the next 6 weeks. And I don't think that's unrealistic. I mean, I think he's 4th top scorer for strikers anyway. But yeah, you just have to look at the sort of the price points of the other people that are above him and realise that actually at the price point he's exceptional. And I mean, I don't think he will be at Wolves next year, but if he is to be again, I think he's going to be a player that's worth 8-9 million potentially on an FPL. I think.
It's funny, I said I was writing that article in the week and I knew his numbers. I wrote a line something like, if he played for one of the top teams, you'd be paying 10 million for Cunha.
Yeah,
like imagine Cunha in. And when I say top teams, I even include like a level of goals that's probably Spurs, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, that tier. I'm not even talking Arsenal, Liverpool, City. Like if he played for one of the teams I just mentioned first, they score a lot more goals than Wolves. And if Cunha's still the main man in that team and still on everything, he'd be amazing. Like he's going to be an awesome FPL asset next season because he won't be at Wolves. But I'd be surprised if he is. But yeah, let's watch this space with Cunha. I don't think I'll be buying him. I don't know. I've got a decision to make on Gakpo. And I think a fair few have. So yeah, let's watch this space with Cunha. But there's a lot of good forwards to buy at the moment. Like everyone's selling Isak. I don't want to. I'm not selling Isak. He's too good. We haven't talked about captaincy. We've only got, I think, 10 minutes left. Should we go on to captaincy? Because I'm captaining Isak, I think, this week, mate. I don't know. You on Salah?
I am on Salah. I'll get yours up then. Let's have a look at how you're looking. So your Isak captaincy against Forest. I suppose they have shipped goals in recent weeks, haven't they? I think since they in that Southampton game, didn't they, where they had a bit of a scare but got through. Did they win like 3-2 or something like that? I think they did.
Against Fulham last week at Craven Cottage, they got battered. They lost 2-1, but it was a battering. Fulham had. I was in the scout members area earlier. Look at the XG and the shots. It was something like 25 shots to 5. Like it was.
And we'll still managed to find a way to score.
Of course,
it's so inevitable, isn't it?
Of course, we'd found a way. Not only did all season, big mistake.
So let's see what
this is a week. It's not even that I'm saying Isak's great this week. It's that I'm saying this is a week I think you can bet against Salah. I could change my captaincy if Real Madrid, if Man City, Real Madrid goes to 120 minutes tonight. Yeah. If I see Man City have to play 120 in Spain, that could turn me off. That could turn me back towards Salah. Let's see.
If you, by the way, if you are in the chat right now and you do own Isak and Salah, I'm sure a lot of you do. Just write down who you're going to captain this week, because I'm just interested to see where this goes. I presume it might end up with Salah, but I'm just interested to see what people think on that. But I think that's really interesting, and I think naturally as well, if you try to chase rank and sort of go a bit against the grain, Salah away at Man City when he's probably going to be he will be the top captain for sure. I don't hate Isak, and I sort of wish I still owned him. I sold him for Watkins last week because I wanted to take a punt, and it worked. Also, actually, Watkins, similar to Cunha, is an unbelievable for bonus points as well.
True,
he's a bonus.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you scored, that's 9 points.
Let me see your team. I just want to see your captain options outside of Salah.
So that's mine currently. So I've got Salah currently. I won't have Trent as my vice captain. I just haven't changed that yet. But potentially you've got Mbeumo. I think it's not a bad shout if I had to go there. But besides that, I think I saw actually someone put in the chat that they wanted what were the thoughts on Vissa captaincy. I'm not sure I can go there. But
that's brave. I mean, Vissa's been good of late. He's just been missing chances. Well, in fact, had 2 goals disallowed at the weekend. Vissa owner has been unfortunate. And I do like the fixture, but if I'm captaining that fixture, Mbeumo's probably your guy. Like, he's the one that you trust. He's the talisman in the team. I don't think I'll be going Vissa. And I don't think I'll be going Pum. If I'm really punty, I quite like Bournemouth. I know I said I think Wolves will score, but the way Bournemouth are scoring goals at the minute, you could bank on a Bournemouth mid. But the vast majority will be on Mo, and I get it. Mo's a sensible pick. Guys, by the way, there's loads of you watching right now. We would love you to hit the like button just to show support for Scott's first job hosting. I think you've done a great job, mate. So make sure you're liking for Scott and you're subscribing to the channel as well.
No, but so the last sort of what I want to mention as well. Are you, when we talk about sort of the captaincy, do you look at price? I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's something about captaining someone who's 5.1 mil that just scares the life out of me. Because I just know
there's a security blanket of seeing the captain, the 10 million man. Yeah, I'm sure I have done. I try not to. I try.
Well, part of last year, I suppose people would have been captaining it.
Chris Wood this year. Forget his price point. He's performed like a 10 million asset, and we just said similar about Cunha and whatever. We do have to try and take away the price and just go points on the market, points up for grabs. But yeah, of course. We're blindsided by price, but more, mate, we're blindsided by ownership. Even when we say we're not, it's at the back of our mind somewhere. And the reason many will go Salah this week is because they think he will be the best, he'll get the most points. And that's, of course, a sensible decision. Mo Salah's the best player in the game. But there will be others out there that want to punt away from Salah that don't, purely based on ownership. They'll be worried. They'll be scared. They'll go, his EO is going to be close to 100%. All my mates in my mini league are going to captain Salah. I'm scared to bet against him because what if he does bang? I feel like this is a week you can take Salah on. And Mbeumo and Isak, for me, are the 2 standouts.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Also, Mbeumo as well. But I think he's got something like 19 goal contributions. The guy, he's pretty inevitable as well, to be honest. And actually, a lot of people sold him before they had a tricky run, and you were better just keeping him. Like he returned against Chelsea away. He returned against Arsenal at home as well. Like he's a man. He could be a season-long hold actually. Mbeumo, I think from now on. But yeah, no, I do feel you on that. But when I think when people talk about the sort of captaincy, I always find it interesting because and the way people play FPL I find interesting because I do really try not to look at ownership and not to do any of that and just to go, this is what I think, this is what I'm going to do. But in the same breath, I understand if you're top 10k and you want to hold rank and you want to just make the sort of obvious moves. But the way I play the game and sort of the way I will probably continue to do is that yes, it might hurt me long term, but I just want to do what I think's right, sort of thing, and I just want to put out what I think's the best move every week. It might not be the best statistical move, but what I deem to be the best move. And obviously there'll be loads of sort of reasoning behind why I'm doing it. But do you do that, or I'm interested how you play in terms of would you consider ownership? Presumably most people do, so I presume you do, but. Or do you try to just sort of stay in your lane and do what you think's the correct move? And it might end up being the most popular transfer that week. But where do you lie on that?
The vast majority of the time, I manage to separate ownership in my head and just make decisions based on who I think is the best pick. I definitely try to take ownership on occasionally, but you got to be so selective. And this year's really cost me for doing that. You know, when early on when Salah was banging big, I still was captaining Haaland for all those high XG games where he didn't perform. So I backed against him there. Only a month ago, I went Bruno Fernandes at home to Southampton when Salah had a banker fixture. So yeah, I probably there are a couple of examples this season alone where I tend not to worry too much about ownership. And again, this week I probably won't be captaining Salah. I don't know if that's the right or wrong answer. Don't know what you should do. I've been playing FPL for a very long time, and I have had seasons where I've probably been way more cautious with ownership. But I'm definitely playing looser at the moment. But am I playing looser because I'm chasing? Maybe. You know, if you're ranked well number one, I think ownership really matters. I think you've got to manage your mini leagues. I think you've got to manage your overall rank when you're at the top of the table. But when you're chasing and you feel like your season's a bit of a write-off, you can play loose, and that can be really fun. And you can play aggressive FPL, and that's kind of where I'm at in a minute.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. But I think the other interesting thing is I think most people play obviously to get like the top 10k ranks, or maybe top 50k might be as strong as like top 10k was maybe 5 years ago now, just because of the amount of people that play FPL now. But I know full well, if you want to win FPL, which is what my aim at the start of the season is, not to finish in the top game, I just want to try and win. Like I know, yeah. and that might end up costing you, because sometimes you've got to sort of win to lose, haven't you? So you might end up, like, you've got to risk the ability that you're going to lose massive rank to gain massive rank. And I think that's probably the same in football as well. But if you want to win FPL, at the start of the season, which I do. I mean, it's probably not realistic, obviously, I understand.
No, it's not. But Scott, you're right. That's how a lot of people play.
That's how you do it. That's how you win.
That resonates with me completely. The vast majority of content creators will probably be there saying they're not playing to win, and that's completely fine too. They're playing for good ranks, and they have amazing track records and histories of getting good ranks. And you see people's videos and bios with how many top 10k finishes, and that's more important to them. I play to win. I don't care if I finish 20k or 10k, doesn't make a difference to me. I care about having a shot to win. Now, I've never come close to winning FPL. Probably never will. But to play to win, you've got to play with a little bit of, you've got to play with quite a lot of risk. The guy that wins FPL never has a template team. In fact, I've just spoken to the guy that won FPL, is winning FPL. He's been in the top 10 since Gameweek 17. And I was speaking to him this morning, and he's had like Aina all season. He's had Robinson all season. He's had Chris Wood all season. Like, he had unpopular picks from day one. He has, however, played really safe with captaincy. He's only captained 3 players this year. Saka once, Haaland a few times, and Salah pretty much every week. And he's captaining Salah again this week. So maybe there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, so by the way, if you
players, safe captaincy.
And you want something else FPL to watch, go watch Gianni's channel, because I think, what time is it up today?
Mate, I thought I scheduled it for 12:45, but CH in the chat has just said, someone in the chat said, I've just seen Gianni's dropped his video at 12:30, so clearly it's already out there.
Well, there you are. If you've got something to watch, go watch that.
When we're saying our goodbyes, I'll give it a plug, yeah.
Well, what is Watkins a captaincy shout? I've just seen in the chat. What do you think to that? As an absolute punt.
Let's see how he looks tonight. We have to remember Watkins has been out for 2 weeks, and that Chelsea will be his third game in 7 days. So let's just see his fitness levels tonight. They might hook him early, he might need a little rest, but he's a bit of a fitness monster. If he goes and scores tonight, maybe you fancy him against Chelsea. Personally, I'm not considering him. Even if he scores a hat trick tonight, I won't captain Watkins against Chelsea. But I don't hate it.
So, right, the last thing I want to ask you then, Jan, if you say you were me, that you have this team right now, you've got no transfers in the bank, would you do Emery to Glasner for -4, and who would you captain if you had my team?
What's your rank?
I'm 221 at the moment, I think. 221k.
I would. So Emery to who?
So Emery to Glasner for a -4, and then who would you captain? Is that worth it? Is it worth the punt?
If Villa don't look good tonight, yes, I would, and therefore Palace can get bonus because Liverpool win. I would make the move to Glasner for a -4. If Villa look good tonight, I wouldn't do it. See how it's all about. Let's see Villa's form going into Chelsea, and then captaincy. I'd probably, again, if Man City look good tonight and beat Real Madrid comfortably and it doesn't go 120, I'd probably captain Bournemouth. If City look bad or go 120, keep it on Salah. A lot tonight. There's a lot riding on tonight.
Yeah, there is for sure. Last thing I just want to mention before we do cut it is that there's the comments in the chat saying I'm from Manchester. Now that needs to end now because I'm from Yorkshire. I'm from Leeds.
I was going to say
we are not on the same wavelength. I can assure you that for free. I'm actually a Leeds United fan. So
you're a Leeds fan.
Us and Man United, we're not friends. So being totally from Manchester, is not, it's tricky.
You see how Scott says Manchester?
I don't actually care.
If he was from Manchester, he'd be saying Manchester. There's a difference in the end of the word. Manchester and Yorkshire is a little bit more like that, and that's how Scott talk. That's not just a bad impression.
It's the slows, it's the
I think there's a clear differentiation. I can't say the word. There's a clear difference between you and a Manc accent, I think.
I hope so. I really do. I actually went to university in Manchester, so I might have picked up a bit of the lingo from there, potentially.
You've got a hybrid.
Yeah, but I'm hoping I don't because I do want to be sort of maintained my roots, and I feel like I'd fail in the family if I came with a Manc accent, to be honest.
Absolutely, mate.
That just needed saying, so
FPL Frost is from Barnsley. He could tell you from Yorkshire. My father-in-law's from Leeds, so I also knew you were from Yorkshire. So yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
But I don't, for the record, I don't actually care. But I did think that definitely needs sorting out. We can't be having that really. But yeah, thanks all for watching. Thanks, Gianni, for joining us. What's one more thing? Scott, I thought Dean had changed his voice. Same accent as Neil Warnock. Cheers, pal. But
there
yeah,
we go.
thanks for watching.
Love that. Well, I look forward to being on again soon. Thank you to everyone in the chat. If you are just tuning in, go back and watch the last hour. Likewise, if you have watched for the last 40 minutes, then go and watch my channel. I'll put a link in the description because, chat with the world number 1 this morning. He's revealed his team to me. And the first 30 seconds of the video is loads of fun. I did a impersonation, Scott, of a, when they introduced boxers to the ring? Coming in at £10. I did that for the world number 1. So it's worth watching just for the first 30 seconds of the video.
Yes, if you hate it, but at least you watch the first 30 seconds, you might think, well, this is actually pretty good. I'll watch the rest. But you might not. So But also, I remember as well. I need to ask this. Please do. I know people don't like saying it, but there we are. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It does help the channel and sort of helps me and makes me look a bit like I'm doing a good job. So that would be nice. But yeah, thanks all for watching. And I will see you at some point again. I'm not sure when, but there will be another point. Thanks, Gianni, and I'll see you all later. Bye for now.
Oh, cheers, man. That was great.
Well, we had a bit of technical